In today's video, we're going to walk you through step by step our process of making cornholes using our Shop Saber CNC. Enjoy. So what we have here is our cornhole program in order to cut out the tops of the cornholes. So you'll see tool path that will cut the holes, and then tool paths that will actually cut a dado within the backs of the boards, which will accept the side pieces that we have that we'll show you in a little bit here, those being cut. So everything kind of fits together nicely that way. So this program here is the one that will cut our sides, or the base frame of the cornhole, these being the end pieces, the smaller pieces, and the longer ones being the sides. As I showed in the previous screen, the dados that are cut in the bottom of the cornholes nicely accept the sides and the end pieces, and so that way we can glue them in, as well as put pocket holes in them to secure them to the bottom of the board. We currently cut holes in the sides, so that way they're a little easier to carry. A lot of guys do it, but we have it built into the program, so it makes it a little bit easier to do. And then finally, this is the program that cuts out our legs for the cornhole. So you can see them all here. The tool path will cut the hole and then cut the leg out. And as you can see, we have quite a few nested on a 4x8 sheet of birch plywood. This is more than we need usually, but it's nice to make those ahead of time and store them, so that way when we get large orders of cornholes, we have enough parts on hand to take care of that need. Alright, once those files are created, and those files were created some time ago, we don't change them very often, mainly because we're pretty consistent on how we build the cornholes. But once those are out there, you're doing this for the first time. You may have seen this before. This is the CNC controller. This is the program that that reads the G code from the file that we created and then sends it to the CNC for it to cut. So from this point, we'll go ahead and open the file for cutting the cornholes, and then I'll click the display so you can see what's being cut. I can zoom in a little bit and show you kind of exactly what's going to go on in the tool paths. So it'll cut 2 sets of cornhole tops out of there, cut the holes as well as the dado. And now I'll switch over and let you watch that process go through. section of the video, you'll notice that we have removed the dust boot from the spindle. We did this on purpose, and we do so occasionally when we're cutting out small parts. We have found that the bristles on the dust boot will cause the parts to get moved on the table even though the vacuum table is running. So this is kind of a normal process. It does create a lot more dust in the shop, a little more mess to clean up, but it's one of those necessary evils that we have to do. Once the boards are cut on the CNC, you'll see just raw wood. The dado's cut in the back. Once that's done, we'll take them in the back and we'll spray 2 coats of latex primer on them. Basically gives a base coat for the printer to print their artwork on top of it. Got to make sure that they're nice and smooth though, so once we do put on our coat, we'll sand it, and we'll put on a second coat, and then we'll sand it with 320 just to make sure it's nice and smooth. Once we get them back from the printer, you can see how amazing this thing turns out. And this is actually just printed directly on top of the board. Once we get those back, immediately the first thing we do is spray them with spar urethane. And we'll get to that procedure next. As I mentioned, we use a spar urethane to spray the tops of the cornhole boards. We do give the tops 3 coats of the spar urethane, allowing it to dry in between each coat, and then we move on to the assembly of the cornhole board the following day. Once the tops are completely dry, we'll begin to assemble the boards and get them ready for delivery.